Welcome to Proof Points, a podcast by Latham High-Tech Seeds. Family owned and farm proven for more than 75 years, Latham Seeds is growing strong. Now, here's product manager and host of Proof Points, Steve Sick.
Well, hello, everyone. On today's podcast of Proof Points, we're here with Gary Geske, Latham Seed Treatment Lead. How are you today, Gary?
Doing very well, Steve. How are you?
Good. You know, as the season progresses, maybe some people don't think about seed treatment. Maybe it's something that was, pertinent to their mind, in the spring, but now it's the fall and winter. Maybe it's kind of slipped their mind. How important is it to think of seed treatment right now and think of next spring already?
You're right, Steve. Everybody is now just wrapping up harvest and trying to put the information that they've gleaned in some sort of manner to order seed and get that taken care of. But they are forgetting about the seed treatment and really how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this year, our trials at Latham showed how important that seed treatments are. More specifically, the Latham Socio Plus seed treatments. Again, for the third year over untreated, we're still running at a 2 to 3 bushel advantage. So when the growers are looking at ordering the hybrids or the varieties that they want on their farm, make sure you get the seed treatments on order at the same time. Again, Latham seed treatments are multiple modes of action, and we talk about that at quite a few of the meetings when we talk about herbicide control, how you need multiple modes of action to really be effective. And that's exactly what we have in Latham Socio Plus.
Gary, one of the things that's kind of top of mind is Fusarium and Phytophthora, especially on the soybean side. What are we doing to, help combat those diseases?
Those are the two that are really talked about. The Fusarium component, let me start there first, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to get a handle on that because that is becoming more and more talked about because of rotation. It's harder to rotate away from that disease complex. And we are looking at a brand new molecule for next year at Latham. It'll be crop destruct, which means it is that new and it is that good that until it gets approved, we have to destroy the crop. But this new molecule is going to do for controlling Fusarium what Viantis has done for controlling Pythium. So we're really excited about that to take care of it. As far as the Fusarium and the Phytophthora and those other diseases, we already have 2 modes of action in Socio Plus to help combat the other fungi.
Right. And of course, you just don't know what the spring conditions are going to be like. So, in your opinion, obviously, we're going into the season dry potentially. In your opinion, are you still going to see a benefit from these seed treatments, even though it might be dry going into next planting season?
The short answer is yes. And we've proven that on our studies, over the last 3 years, we've always proven our Socio Plus to be an advantage. And part of that is because when we look at the complex of the 4 major fungi out there, which, realistically are 90% of what happens out there. So when you look at the 4 majors, they don't just go when it's cool or just go when it's warm. It's a broad spectrum and Mother Nature really throws us a lot of curveballs every year. So think of it this way. Think of soybean seed treatments or seed treatments in general as an insurance policy against Mother Nature, if you will. And, just like we take out insurance on our houses and our cars and everything out, we're taking an insurance policy with our seed to try and hold the yield together as best we can. And realistically, Steve, data year after year shows that seed treatments pay.
Right. No, I would agree. One of the things that Latham has done is adding Viantis, over the years. I'm not sure how much is known about Viantis, and maybe can you explain to our audience, a little bit more about Viantis and what it does and what it protects?
Sure. Viantis is a compound that really has great control against Pythium. And, when we say it has control against Pythium, the other thing we have to understand is there's 40 or 50 different Pythium isolates out there. And so some people can say they have Pythium control, but maybe that's only after one or two of the isolates, where Viantis is a very complete control, or let me say, instead of control, it's very good for holding back Pythium and the multiple strains. So much so that 3 years ago, when we had it in our corn trials, we showed a 9 bushel increase on Viantis, just adding Viantis to our seed treatment that we're already using. And that was so profound, actually, Steve, that's why Latham decided to add Viantis to every bag of corn that goes out the door. We believe in it very strong, and we believe in it on the soybeans also.
I think one of the things that isn't talked about enough is making that seed treatment change. There was no change in price, correct?
That is correct. We are in a very good position with our suppliers, and we have access to really top line seed treatments. And when we look at it, applying it to plant, we've gained a lot of efficiencies there because it coats and it goes through the plant so well that we're able to hold our margins to the growers, if you will, so that we're able to adjust our platform on a fly to keep improving the control and improving performance and improving. Let's not forget about plantability and dust off. So the polymers and the things, if you will, that we're using to hold all of these treatments on the seed are so good that the dust off is so low. So we really are getting all of our active ingredients on the seed and in the ground where they belong.
Oh, that's a really good point. Being good stewards out there. One point you mentioned was about the isolates. Out there, is there a way that growers can soil sample, do any kind of pre-sampling to know what is in their field as far as what disease isolates, what they may have in their field for next year?
The short answer is yes. The colleges are getting very good at being able to sort these things out. I know in the past when I've been in fields doing some checks along plants that are showing some signs of fusarium, I'll send the soil samples into the state colleges, and they can go into the lab then and grow them out with using different soils and different inoculants, if you will, to figure out what diseases really is there. So doing it that way is we're looking back at the issue, but that's sure going to help us out for the future. So on your farm what you're looking at and what you need to control.
Do you see any effectiveness difference between rotated acres with seed treatment or non-rotated acres?
Certainly rotation is good for to be better stewards of the land. We're looking at that. So when we look at rotated acres, if you're looking at, say, fusarium, it's getting harder to rotate out of that because up north, fusarium is head scab in wheat, or we have some stalk rots and crown rots, which is fusarium in corn. And now if we have it in soybeans too, it's getting harder to rotate out of it. And that's why really protecting our plants now with the seed treatment that has those multiple modes of action and really is aggressive towards multiple strains of these fungi is getting more and more important as we learn what we're doing out on the farm.
One thing I've noticed too, I did some reading here on the plane here a week ago, and it was some really interesting facts that we've extended our growing season almost 3.5 days now over the average, just because of the way the weather's changing. Do you see that be affected in seed treatment because we're getting a longer period? We're not getting those cold winters to kill the bugs, the insect carryover that we have. Are you seeing a big effect of this, and how do you think seed treatments can help with that?
So the short answer is yes. When you talk seed treatments with both the FNEI or the insecticide too, that's when we're really getting the better effect on those early season insects, if you will, the wireworm, seed corn maggots, some of the early aphid suppression, things
Mhm.
like that, green leaf beetles, all of those things. We're getting very good control there. And then we're also, whether we're planting early, because we are planting earlier and
Mhm.
earlier. So whether we're planting earlier or we go back later, remember what we talked about earlier, that the fungi have action, or they affect the plant in different temperatures and different moistures of the soil, things like that. So we really never know what we're getting into. And that's where the seed treatment is so important to protect us against all of the variables out there, Steve.
Okay. No, that makes total sense. I mean, really, to summarize what you've been talking about so far, it's really good, not overly expensive insurance. We all need insurance for everything that goes on in our life anymore. You know, what do you see new and coming on the horizon? Is there something brand new that's going to be earth shattering that may change the way we farm?
The newest thing on the horizon, and we've talked about it, is that new fusarium molecule that we're
Hmm.
going to be testing next year. That's the biggest thing. I think we're going to need to look at the seed treatments as part of our insurance package while we're growing. We take crop insurance out. The seed treatments have to be part of the seed protection insurance that we're
Hmm.
doing every year, because we really get one chance to do it, and we want to
Right.
do it right. You're looking at some of these acres where under some better conditions, better soils, people are cutting back populations a little bit for planting. So we really want to protect those and make sure every one of those that we're putting in the ground is growing and does become a viable plant.
No, that's a good point. It's a good way to maybe help reduce some costs, to assure that more plants are going to grow. No doubt about that. What do you see on the horizon? Is there anything coming? Corn rootworm is really becoming one of the top topics out here. It's expanding as we get further north. We're seeing a lot more rootworm pressure. Is there anything coming that can help us on the seed treatment side?
We are looking at a couple. They are they started out as a nematicide, Steve. So both corn and beans. When we look at nematodes, and you talk about soybeans, you always think of the cyst nematode, right?
Hmm.
And that's going
Right.
to be a big deal because we're putting a lot of pressure on the PI 788, and so
Hmm.
now we're looking at the Peking, things like that, and that's all great. But I think we need to help those out a little bit. And some of the new nematicides out are helping not only on multiple different strains of cyst. We're getting back into some of the root knot nematodes and the needle nematodes, things like that. Um, but there's also some rootworm control in there too. So let's take a variety or a plant that's also very good with the SEN gene in it.
Hmm.
Let's just try and make it better, give it multiple modes of action. And we're seeing that. We've seen it with Saltro, adding Saltro to the seed. Not only some SEN control, but we're getting some SDS suppression also, and making the plant healthier full season. So that one's out, and we're looking at some new nematicides that we're testing extensively again this year in not only our research plots, but we're getting in and putting them into field blocks so we can see on a farmer's field that they're still doing what we're seeing. So the
Hmm.
fusarium and the nematodes, that's our focus in the future.
One of the other topics that I've heard a lot about lately is biologicals. What kind of work, or what's your knowledge and expertise on biologicals, and what are your thoughts on those?
So the biologicals are coming, and I'm going to put those into two boxes if we could, Steve, because we have
Yep.
biologicals
Okay.
that we're working for and using for the rootworms and nematodes and things like that. And then we also have biologicals that we're using to improve roots and plant health, and some of the azos and some of the mycorrhizin, things like that. So biologicals is a buzzword that's come around, but let's really make sure that there's a lot of players out there. So make sure you're not
Hmm.
just looking at the same component from 5 different places, right? Um, Biologicals, I think, are probably going to be more of a fit that fits each individual farmer instead of more of a broad acre, if you will, because the soils, how we farm them, are so different. So if I was a grower or farmer out there right now, I would be looking at biologicals, but I would, with the electronics and the technology that we have now for infield testing, I'd certainly be looking at it and see how it works on my farm.
Okay. And just kind of here to wrap things up, Gary, we talked a lot about seed treatments, different components and that. So what is Latham's deadline on seed treatment and ordering?
Well, we can, if you're getting upstream seed treatment, you can order all the way, into February or March, is I think, and we can get even into, no matter how it's packaged, we can get it done. If you're a downstream treater, uh, I think there's a discount the 15th of December. I think there's a discount per gallon when you order to apply downstream. And let's not forget that the cash discounts apply whether we're upstream or downstream treating. The cash discounts really help make this seed treatment cost effective. So don't forget that when you're prepaying for your seed.
Oh, that's an excellent point, Gary. There's a lot of companies that do not allow cash discounts or discounts off of seed treatment, but Latham sure does take advantage of that. So, no, great point there. Hopefully, people will take advantage of that. Anything else to add to follow up?
No, I just want to reiterate again that how important I feel seed treatments are as far as an insurance policy. We get one chance to do it right. So let's take a look at that, because this is an insurance policy that really pays. We've proven it at Latham over the years, how well it does. And let's try and maintain the genetic potential that these crops have.
That's an excellent point. Yep, protecting that high yield and giving it the best chance to do what the plant is actually supposed to do. So, no, great point. Well, it was good talking to you again, Gary, and appreciate your time. Thanks, Gary.